Elevator red light, green light. So I'm an elevator technician. When they break, I'm the one who fixes them. When parts wear out, I replace them. You get it. The other day, I was on a job replacing a worn-out emergency light. Back in the day, it was a habit to use the battery of the emergency light to power the elevator siren system. Modern emergency lights have different voltages being LED, so I can't use the old way of connecting everything. So I have to wire everything up from scratch, including new battery and siren. No big deal, but it takes a little longer to complete the task. Note that this is a 3-stop elevator, ground floor first and second. I start with hanging up all my out-of-order signs and start working on the ground floor. 5 minutes in, just disassemble the old piece, the story begins. In comes the entitled woman, mid-40s, can walk perfectly fine, carrying one barely filled grocery bag. Excuse me, is the elevator broken again? Not exactly, ma'am. I'm changing this, showing her the new emergency light because the old one wasn't working anymore. This will probably take about an hour to complete. At this point, her daughter walks in. How am I supposed to get my groceries upstairs? Getting annoyed, I look at her back and give her the, "Are you freaking kidding me?" look. Mom, seriously, let's take the stairs. It's 2 floors. She's clearly annoyed. No, I pay for this elevator, and I need it now. I'm going up and the daughter takes the stairs. How long is this going to take? Like I said, ma'am, about an hour. The woman then sets her butt down on a bench in the hallway, waiting for me to finish. Really? Oh well, I do my thing in a cabin, not hurrying at all, mount the new E-light to the ceiling, and pack my things to go 1 floor up to start the wiring on the top of the cabin. You done yet? No, ma'am, I still have to wire things up on top of the elevator. No, I can see you're done. You're packing your things. Yes, I have to take my bag 1 floor up so I can start the wiring. Can I use it now? No, ma'am, you can't. There's exposed wiring up there. If you use it now, you can cause a short and you will get stuck. It's really not safe. Fine. And she sits back down on the bench, seriously pissed off. I take my bag and make my way upstairs. As soon as I stand in front of the 1st floor door, I hear the door on the ground floor close. And sure enough, entitled woman went into the elevator and tried to take it upstairs. Heck no, I wasn't having that. I take my emergency key, and as soon as the elevator started moving, I open the lock, cutting the safety chain, and the elevator comes to a sudden stop. This scared the stuffing out of her, and she screams. I open the door, and in my most fake surprise voice, I yell, "No, what have you done?" while calmly pressing the emergency stop on top of the elevator. Yep, this thing isn't going anywhere soon. This is exactly why I said the elevator is unsafe to use now. I'll do my best to get it working ASAP, but you made a mess up here, so I don't know how long it's going to take. There was no mess, but I couldn't resist teaching her a lesson. The entitled woman swears, yells, and makes a scene. I'll be right back. I have to go to the engine room to see if I can get it working again. I close the door and make my way up. On the 2nd floor, the daughter came out of the apartment because of the yelling of her mother. I quickly explained what happened. The daughter, raising her voice, "Oh no, please get her out of there." But then she comes closer and whispers to me, "Don't hurry. Make her suffer." That's my kind of girl. Music to my ears. I smile, give her thumbs up, and make my way up to the engine room. I call my supervisor to explain the situation in case she files a complaint. In the engine room, I start playing around with fuses, putting her in the dark because, yeah, I haven't connected the E-light yet. I play with her for about half an hour before I turn off the emergency stop I activated. The elevator synchronizes to the lowest floor, and I wait for the doors to open. Please don't open. Ever do that again. The entitled woman, white as a sheet and shaking, "No, I won't." And she takes the stairs and goes inside. I never heard from her again. I calmly finish my job and leave the building with a smile on my face. Mission accomplished. Want to speak to the manager. We move into a community with tight space in between our house and our neighbors, and we didn't like them being able to see into our kitchen. We put up a bunch of plants costing thousands, but my parents thought it would be worth it. A week later, my parents awoke to the plants completely chopped down. My father was furious and marched down to our neighbor's house. He told my father the plants were on his property line, therefore he had total rights to take them down. He warned that if anything were to go on his property again, he would report us to the authorities immediately. Later that day, my father called the company that put in the plants, and with a warranty, we could have them replanted next week for no charge. We made sure there was no way it was on our neighbor's property. However, a few days later, we caught him chopping them down at 2 a.m. We called the police on destruction of property, and after a chat with my neighbor, he decided to call a professional and mark his property line. My father agreed. A few days later, I got home to find orange tape in my neighbor's yard. Apparently, his fence was 11 feet over our property line. We watched as he took down his fence, completely furious. Within the next month, we were enjoying our new space and privacy in our backyard, and my neighbor ended up losing 1/4 of his backyard. My neighbor ended up having to pay almost $10,000 for the destruction of our property, and we got to plant our plants again. Sure, if you say so. I was a 17-year-old girl, and I was an expert in tropical fish and koi. In fact, it was my job that summer to be the koi and outdoor pond point person. And my job was not only stocking the ponds, but managing all the plants, caring for them, and knowing every bit of information and all the prices of the various koi and goldfish we had. I knew diets, temperature ranges, places of origin, special breeds. I knew it all. They would even call me with questions on my days off. That clearly didn't matter to one customer, though. He came inside the store and asked for some help with koi outside. I happily agreed, as I was the only person not on my lunch break. Now, this guy frankly seemed put off by me offering to help, so instead of buying anything, he decided to quiz me for 20 minutes about the koi, goldfish, and pond plants to try to get me to admit I didn't know something. I answered every single one of his stupid questions. Some were really stupid. And at the end of the 20 minutes, he had the balls to say, "Can I talk to someone who knows things?" Like a man? Full emphasis and tone on those words, too. "Sure, you can," I say with a fake smile. "Let me get John for you." Here's the malicious compliance. John, who was 75, was retired, annoying as hell and crazy. My boss didn't even want him to be hired, but he owed John a favor. Now, John is an expert in goldfish, but he hates koi and outside ponds. John also, like I said, is really annoying and crazy, but he had a soft spot for me, so we would always chat. I went inside to find John and explained to him that this customer wanted a man to talk to. John asked me why he wanted to speak to a man when I was the pond point person, and I told him that he clearly just didn't like that he was speaking to a girl. John nods knowingly, gets this evil grin on his face, and goes to help the customer. 5 minutes later, I hear a man yelling in the parking lot. I run outside and find the customer screaming at John and cursing him out. "What is wrong with you? Does nobody effing know anything around here? I will never come back. You're all horrible and know nothing about fish, and you're a terrible employee," or something to that effect. I watched the guy hop into his car, slam the door, and drive off. I asked John what happened. He said, "Oh yeah, no, every time he asked me a question, I said, 'Not sure, good question though. I could go get OP and ask, she's really our pond expert.'" And apparently, he didn't like that. Customer, if you read and remember this, how can her bag get heavier when you added lighters to it? My ex and I were both smokers, and she couldn't retain possession of a lighter for more than a day or two. She'd misplaced it and was constantly asking me for a light, then reflexively pocketing my lighter and putting it in her pocket or a purse. For April Fool's Day, I bought 50 lighters off of Amazon. I started by putting 10 or so in her purse. For the next few days, every time she left the room, I would drop another lighter or two in her purse. There was a bowl on the table near the entrance. I guess her purse got crowded or heavy, so a few days later, there were about 10 lighters in the bowl. That didn't stop me. I kept dropping a lighter or two into her purse every day. Before long, the bowl was overflowing, and her purse still had a dozen lighters in it. That's when she told me that I'd made my point and to stop with the lighters.